This is a very peculiar story. If this were like the Mercedes-Benz emblem of a pie chart with 3 segments, those 3 segments would include a Rover 600, and we're on fleek here, right? The second ingredient would be the greatest endurance race in the world, 24 Hour of Le Mans, not Le Mans. And the third part is one of the coolest racing drivers ever to compete in F1. This is the story of Slim Borgudd, 24 Hour of Le Mans, and the Rover 620 SLI, because the details matter. Really not sure where to start with this because the 3 ingredients are all equally amusing and entertaining to me, and you're probably wondering why I'm wearing this awful jacket, so I probably should start with the jacket, and you can't smell this through the lens fortunately. It was new old stock from Rover Workwear. Somebody pilfered this, I think, from Cowley or from Longbridge more realistically, before they went bust, and are now selling it on eBay, and it stank so bad when I got it I had to wash it twice, and it's awful. And because it's Rover, right, I don't know whether you can pick this up on the camera, but I put it through the wash. All of the metal fixings are actually going rusty on it, even though it's never been worn before. It's true Rover. I'm going to bash Rover a bit, but I absolutely love them. So the first part of this relates to the car. This behind us is a Rover 600. It's a 620 model. This was made from about 93 to 99 or thereabouts at Cowley. The Cowley factory I love. I actually worked there as a consultant in the 90s, and those of you that saw the film I made with JM on quality control might remember that I have a book on it, which nobody bought, but thanks anyway. Talking about the lack of quality control when some of these cars were put together. Now, before all the Rover fans bash me, I love them. I own a share in this one together with the chaps that are working in the background. This particular Rover is an SLI, and maybe we'll get some detailed shots on that later, but this means very nice velour trim, proper wood capped doors, electric sunroof, split fold rear seats, and it was pitched as an alternative to something like the BMW E36. It was originally intended to be as sporty, but in the end it was a proper pipe and slippers, a good old gammony Rover, which actually I think makes it a very nice, comfortable car indeed. I weirdly miss Rover, believe it or not. This particular car, until 2023, belonged to a chap called Carl Tommy Edward Borgudd, who was known as Slim Borgudd. Now, somebody, if you're as F1 nerdy as me, you might have heard the name before, but Slim was kind of famous for his association with ABBA. So we're going to rewind right to 1946 now, which is the most random selection of things in a sentence you're ever going to hear. In 1946, Slim was born in Sweden. He got into motorsport, into touring cars, and raced a Hillman Imp. He raced a Volvo 122 Amazon and was pretty handy at it. From there he went into Formula Lotus, and then he went into Formula Ford, and he won a championship, either F3 or Formula Ford in Sweden in around 79. And forgive me some of the details of woolly hair, and I look as rough as arseholes. It's because it's the middle of the night and I should be fixing a car as opposed to talking to camera, but this is such an exciting story, we've got to share it. So Slim went from Formula Ford into Formula 3, and from Formula 3 took the huge leap into Formula 1, and this is quite unusual, it has to be said. Normally there are other steps a driver might go through, and I think he was about 34 when he did it, and he raced for a German team called ATS. Now you might know that ATS were famous for making alloy wheels, and they're based close to the Hockenheim circuit. In fact, I think they're still in business, probably trying to disassociate themselves desperately with all the mess you see behind us now. ATS entered 2 cars for a few seasons in F1, and one of their drivers was Slim Borgudd. Now, I don't know whether Slim brought any money with him. I don't know whether he just looked out, or whether they saw something in a driver that they didn't see in anybody else, but Slim was plucked from the lower levels of racing and dropped straight into an F1 seat, which is phenomenal. Now, the next bit is quite easy. So the next sort of segment, as we move on from the car onto Slim, it's kind of easy to take the mickey a little bit and laugh about lower level F1, because this guy wasn't Ayrton Senna. He has a lot of friends and a lot of fans, particularly in the UK, where he lived not far from here until he passed away in 2023. Now, I'm a fan as well, so don't shoot the messenger, okay? So Slim is famous for being the 6th highest point scorer in Formula 1. which sounds good until you realise the small print there is from Sweden. So he scored 1 point in the British Grand Prix in an ATS car. Now, he was quite fortunate that a couple of the leading cars crashed out. He gambled on Avon tyres that somehow clicked on the day when nobody else's did. But credit where credit is due, Slim came 6th and got 1 point in F1 when basically everybody else was just astounded and struggling with the pace. And this probably, I would say, is almost the pinnacle of his career. Now, I say almost the pinnacle because some might argue that truck racing and touring cars is more exciting than F1, and maybe they've got a point. To wrap up Slim's F1 career, he did 2 seasons for ATS. He never scored a point. His single point at the British Grand Prix was won with the ABBA logo blazoned on the car. Now, Slim was a session musician. Slim was actually a very good musician, and he was part of a band called Made in Sweden, and there were some other psychedelic bands whose name I now don't escape. And one of the bands he session musicianed for and became friendly with was ABBA. Now, at the time, ABBA was Sweden's biggest export, which sounds mental when you think about some of the huge companies in the world, the Microsofts and the Apples and the Amazons of today, that not that long ago, in my lifetime, because I'm old and wrinkly at least, the biggest export of a country could be pop music. And it was ABBA. And I quite like them, so haters back off. Anyway, Slim became friendly with Bjorn Ulvaeus, who was one of the Bs in ABBA. And as a thank you, the band let him put the ABBA logo on the car. Now, they didn't give him any money for this. They simply did it because he was a friend. And it was kind of bait to attract bigger sponsors because it was so expensive to race in F1 and it was pretty expensive back then. So Slim turned up. He raced the British Grand Prix. He raced first at the San Marino Grand Prix and I think he didn't qualify. At the British Grand Prix, he came 6th and scored that one glorious, glorious point, which is 1 point more than I'll ever score in my miserable life, that's for sure. And after that, ABBA said, wow, actually our friend Slim can drive, but in Swedish. They went along to the, I think it was the German Grand Prix after that, and they all turned up to cheer on Slim, and I don't think he even finished the race. I think he qualified like 20th, and he didn't even finish. And let's be fair, the ATS was a bit of a dog of a car, it was a back marker and everything else, and even the achievement of getting 2 cars on the grid at those races in those times is a hell of an achievement. So this is all spectacular stuff. Then we can move on to Slim's later life. So Slim came to live in the UK, and I'm not entirely sure why you would pass over living in beautiful Sweden to live in the miserable Midlands, which is where I'm from, before anybody sticks up for the Midlands. But he did. He lived in Coventry in later years and was very, very successful. He was a championship-winning driver in truck racing. That's a totally different discipline. If you haven't seen it, go and see it, because it's absolutely bloody brilliant. But he was good. Slim also raced in BTCC for a couple of seasons. He was associated with Mazda, I think, and 1 or 2 others, and had the odd drive here and there. And he also raced in the 24-hour of Le Mans. Now, that takes me to the third piece of the Mercedes-Benz pie chart of madness that is this film. And that's the 24-hour of Le Mans. Now, those that might not know it, I think Le Mans is actually the pinnacle of motorsport. Not Le Mans, not truck racing, not touring cars, and certainly not F1. Le Mans is a parody race series that is a Mickey take of the French series of the same name. There are 24-ish races a year held at various race circuits throughout the US. They are 24-hour races. Some of these are 2 12-hour races, and sometimes it's 24 hours through the night. They celebrate sub-$500 cars. Now, the price tag basically excludes safety equipment. They're very stringent on safety. The fact that the banging stopped behind me is rather disconcerting. We have to fit a roll cage, fire system, harnesses, and all the proper pucker safety gear, race with FIA approved spec, flame retardant clothing, and all of that. So it's quite important that we get it right. Now, when Slim passed away, this car, or just before he passed away, this car was languishing outside an industrial unit that a friend of a friend had, and we bought it. Sort of, it's a Formula 1 driver's car. He was genuinely a really lovely bloke, and we think, and I hope that his friends and family that might be watching, see that this is a fitting tribute to what Slim did. It's taking a car like the ATS kind of car. Rover's a bit of an underdog, and the 600 has zero motorsport pedigree, none whatsoever. That one certainly hasn't. And pitting it against some real headline races, there'll be all manner of Corvettes and hot stuff, rusty hot stuff with big yank iron in it. bearing down on our 115 horsepower 2-litre Rover that was built a quarter of a century ago and is basically clinging on for dear life. So we're so excited to be able to race this car. It's an all-British team with one token colonial making up the numbers. Hey, passive racism. And we can't wait to race. So that's your 3 ingredients. That's the story of Slim Borgudd, the story of the Rover 600, and the story of 24 Hour Lemons. And that's why I'm wearing some hideous, stinking, festering Rover jacket in an industrial estate in the middle of the night. If that has piqued your interest, then you're as weird as me, and that's not really a good thing. However, before I get on and show you how khaki the car actually is, check out Facebook. There's a page called something like an F1 driver raced. No, an F1 driver owned this Rover 620. We're going to race it at Lemons. Poke around online. I'm terrible at the internet. If you find it, you can send us some money, you can buy us a coffee, you can give us advice on parts, or you can just mock us from the safe distance of the internet. We've got to take a look at how bad this is, because you're going to love it. Okay, so the boys are a bit hacked off now that I've made them stop work in order to show you around the car. We'll start with this. This is my doing. So we had a problem with there's a hole here. We had a problem with the power steering. It had a huge power steering leak. And to get at it, I really need to take the headlamp out. And to take the headlamp out, you have to remove the slam panel. So what I did is I just drilled a hole in the bumper in order to get to the bracket that I want. And in the end, follow me. In the end, instead of replacing it with the power steering pipe, I've just used a fuel hose and double Jubilee clipped it, and it hasn't leaked anything since. There's cack all over the floor of this lovely workshop that we're squatting in, but none of it is my work. We're going to go this way, and I want to show you some more of the marvellous features of the Rover 620. Right, so we've got crusty brakes, so we've got new pads and discs all round. We've snagged some Brembos from a Focus
406 Coupe.
A Peugeot 406 Coupe that's probably now on bricks in the outside a supermarket with the owner wondering where his brakes have gone. There's a lot of rust on this car. We'll move around. It's okay from this perspective. We've got some sort of speed holes here, and the arches are shot. Now they all go here. The power steering, it's easy to bash an old rusty car, right? The power steering thing, they go on all of them. So that's like, you can forgive that. Rust happens to all old cars, and this is basically a reskinned Honda Accord. So yeah, we've now got grooved, vented discs on the back. We now no longer have a back box. I'd like to say that was done for performance reasons, but the truth is it fell off on the M1. Sorry, officer. We've got some speed fluid at the back here. I don't know what this... Boys, why is the water coming out of the trunk?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
We let somebody have the electric aerial and forgot to bung the hole up. Okay,
all right, we can live with that. That's cool. We're featuring Road Hawk tyres at Lemons. If you win in a certain category, you get a set of I think it's Yokohama. They call them Road Manglers, which is specifically for Lemons, which is great. So I'm hoping to have some less poverty spec rubber on this when we've actually finished the race. Now, what you can't tell is the smell. So inside here, we've got the nice velour interior. Look at this. We've got proper wood cappings. We've got chrome finishes on there. Chrome finishes. Do we need this?
What?
Chrome.
No, put it skip.
It's actual chrome. It's actual metal. It's not plastic metal. Now, I'm bashing this car. I actually really like these. I had the sister car, which was the Honda Accord, and it was genuinely very, very good. We've got dents, we've got crust, and we've got brakes to do. We may or may not have a small fuel leak.
Yes, fuel filter's leaking.
Fuel filter's leaking.
I bought one.
And when we put it up on the jack earlier, we noticed that the sump is slightly porous, but I'm hoping that JM will edit that out in case the scrutineers are watching this and penalise us before we even get out the pit lane. It's got a few what I would call giffer dents. Apparently, I don't know if Slim did this. Now, Slim didn't have this car from new. Slim apparently really liked Rover 600. I told you he was a bit quirky and special. So he had a few of these over the years. Now, I don't know whether he did this or somebody else. I have had a relative that suffered with dementia, and their car was covered in equally mysterious marks that sometimes appear. This is the car that basically, when you see it in the car park, you park 4 spaces away from, because who knows what state it's in. But Slim loved it, and it's a good car, and it is going to win at Lemons with your help. Thank you very much.
The owners of the premises used in today's video would like me to say that they have absolutely no association with the madness being featured. For more details on this misadventure and how to contribute, please follow the links down below. Thanks for watching.